Hey, my name is Mark Massari, also the Juggernaut, and I'm coming to you with a message today that's very important. It's called Citizen Response. It's a new program we're started from the APLEA Rangers, and we're going to talk to you a little bit about it today. So, if this is the first time you're watching a video, I'll give you a little bit of an introduction, but if this is not, chances are you've been following us for a while, you've seen lots of changes, you've seen movement with our headquarters, you've seen martial arts schools opening and closing, and lots of things have been happening, but the reason I'm coming to you today is because I believe that what we're doing now is moving beyond martial arts, okay? 20 years ago, people took martial arts for their kids. They took martial arts because they wanted their kids to learn life skills. They wanted their kids to stand up to bullies. And, that's still good reasons in a lot of ways. But what I'm talking about is beyond the martial arts, okay? What I'm talking about is what happened September 11th, 2001, when all of a sudden there was a paradigm shift. People woke up to see towers falling in New York City and realized that the safe place we thought we lived in America is not as safe as we thought. We realized that a small group of people can cause massive amount of destruction. We realized that New York City, with all the police, with all the military, with all the things that have to do with airplane security, people slip through the cracks. Okay, and I believe there's it caused me to take a deep look at why I was doing what I was doing at the time. I was involved in the martial arts. I had started teaching, and I was just telling this to somebody the other day. And so basically, how that brings us to today, we're going to talk about it, is you might not have been hearing as much about terrorism, but you have been, if you've been living in America in the last few years, you've been hearing more and more about domestic terrorism, which is, active shooter situations going on in schools. Okay? The goal of a terrorist, an Israeli special forces guy once told me this, is that the goal of a terrorist is to kill as many innocent people as possible. Okay? So obviously the goal of a defender is to save as many innocent people as possible. That's the same as the goal of an APLEA Ranger. So first of all, how can we save people? So let's just talk about profession for a second. You're a police officer. You're in the military. You're a first responder of some sort, EMS. All right. You're a doctor. You're somebody that is involved in saving lives. This message obviously will be very familiar to you, but that only counts for a very small percentage of America. There's a large majority of America that are like the people, like I live in New York State. And one of the things that we're guilty of, a lot of us, not all of us, but a lot of us are guilty of, is seeing something happen and looking the other way and saying, that's not my problem. Maybe I'll call 911. If that happens. Lots of rapes aren't reported. There's sex trafficking in the United States. There's all kinds of problems that most of the time people are looking the other way. Oh, I don't want to get involved. I don't have time. I'm on my way home from work. Whatever the reason is, I believe that time has ended in America, that if we want to be a citizen of America, which a citizen is somebody who obviously has citizenship and who is a part of the culture of America and who has a responsibility to take care of it. Okay? So I believe that there's a citizen response demanded of us, of all of us. Whether you're involved in the military or law enforcement, whether you're a martial arts teacher or a student, or whether you, do security, it doesn't really matter what your job is. I believe there's a bigger responsibility because, for example, last year on Halloween, a terrorist actually took a rental vehicle and mowed down kids, little children and their families, on a crosswalk, on Halloween. People that weren't enemy combatants, okay? One of the things that if you're in the military, you'll understand is that there are certain things as combatants and non-combatants, okay? We learned about this in Vietnam. There's Geneva Conventions, all these things that teach us what is a combatant, what is a non-combatant, okay? For example, medical personnel are considered non-combatants. They're not in the fight. They're just there to save lives. Typically, women and children are non-combatants in a foreign country, okay, typically. But then obviously Vietnam, that changed because now women and children were strapping bombs to themselves and blowing themselves up and causing lots of our soldiers to die. So I think we need to think of it more as a problem as what we need to do. What my goal is with this citizen response is to help people who think of themselves as a non-combatant learn how to protect themselves and their community. To learn that, you know, to other people of the world and to a bad guy, even people in our country who are bad guys, you're a target. You don't have to be wearing a military uniform for somebody to attack you. You don't have to be a police officer. More and more today, I've never seen this before in my life until these last few years. Police officers are being targeted by thugs. You know what I mean? Are there people that serve in the law enforcement profession that are bad guys? Yes. The same thing with politics? Yes. Same thing with doctors? Yes. Same thing with martial arts teachers? Yes. Everybody. There's bad people in every profession, but there's also a lot of good. And we don't, you know, what happens when you support the taking out of professionals like law enforcement and military? You become a thug. You become a criminal or a terrorist. So, anyways, how do you stop a threat? Okay? The purpose of Krav Maga, self-defense, is to stop the threat as quickly as possible. Okay? With active shooter situation, what we learned in Columbine is that it took too long for the SWAT team to show up. Okay? And children were dying. Now, we've done lots of changes in 20 years, but it's still taking too long. We're still waiting for the professionals to show up. Here's the problem. There's not enough professionals. Okay? 1% of America are the professionals, and 99% are the unprotected, okay? The non-combatants, the people that will be considered, you know, not part of the fight, okay? But here's the thing. The bad guys are targeting you. The bad guys, if you're trick-or-treating, you're the enemy. If you're riding a bus or a subway, if you're going to a football game, if you're going to church on Sunday, any of these things, what a terrorist also does is it targets places where there's going to be a soft target. Terrorists and bad guys don't want to get in gunfights and fistfights. They want to kill as many innocent people as possible. So, is all the threats that we're talking about today in America terrorism? No. But I'm just using that as an example on the spectrum, high up on the spectrum. Another problem we have is people getting raped, people getting, you know, gunned down in convenience stores, okay? Because somebody's being selfish and somebody's like, I'm going to take this money out of the cash register and I don't care who dies, okay? So how do you prepare for a threat like that? I believe martial arts training, your average martial arts program, punching, blocking, kicking, training for tournaments, getting belts, certificates, all that stuff is great. It doesn't deal with this problem, okay? The closest martial art that I've found, and there's exceptions to this rule, but on a whole, the closest that I've found is the Krav Maga industry, all right? Because, why? They're based out of Israel. What's the Israeli mindset? The Israeli mindset is that when you're 18 years old, you serve your country. Why? Because there's more bad guys than there are good guys. It's everybody's responsibility to stop terrorism. If you see a terrorist attacking the neighborhood that you're in and you don't do anything, that's considered a crime and you get in trouble for it. So what can we do? How can we train? One of the things that I'm going to say, this is a paradigm shift. Again, September 11th was part of it. We have to be ready in any situation with any type of weapons or no weapons, okay? Karate means empty fist, okay? But in karate, there's weapons training too. You know, sais and swords and bow staffs, and most of the stuff you don't really have available to you, okay? What do you have available to you a lot of times? Pocket knives, right? In America, you're still allowed to carry a pocket knife, you know, small knife, right? These are some of the things that are available to us. Make sure I put this back in the right way. If you're out in more of a rural area, this is what we call the camp knife. Okay, gives you a longer edge blade, very similar size and shape as the original Bowie knife, David Bowie. I believe we're returning to a time of Wild West. Not because we want to, but because what's the problem? Why did they call it the Wild West? Because there was very few lawmen. Okay, there was very few sheriffs. A lot of times cities would not have a very strong or large law enforcement. And here's the problem. Law enforcement can only be so big as we have enough money to pay for everybody. Okay? they're already stretched very thin. In the situation like we just seen in Florida, a lot of times they're getting paid, and the paycheck is more important than saving lives because, hey, I've been working for 30 years. I'm not going to go in and get myself. I mean, I've heard this, okay? I've been involved in military law enforcement as well as the civilian aspect of law enforcement as a peace officer, and I've heard superiors say, hey, we don't want anybody getting killed, okay? So just do your job. But so the problem is they're not saying don't do your job, but it's very subtle. And the thing is the goal of every law enforcement officer is to be home safe at the end of the day. The problem is there's nothing wrong with that, but the problem is when we're not saving other lives because there's children dying inside a building and we're staying outside because we just don't think it's our job. Okay? So, what is the solution? Not to say bad law enforcement, bad military. We need more cops on the streets. I mean, sure, all those things, we could say those things. I have a high respect for law enforcement. I have a high respect for the military. I served 13 years in the National Guard. Like I said, I was in during 9/11. So why is APLEA formed? And what am I talking about citizen response? If you're still watching this video, here's how you get involved. APLEA, we had for a long time after 9/11, my brother and I set this up. The only real programs you can get involved in is training martial arts. And how you had to do that, just like any other martial arts school, you had to pay a monthly fee. And now you're getting trained by professionals who could teach you self-defense. Here's the problem. Not everybody has money. So in 2016, Jonathan and I launched a program called the APLEA Rangers. This is an entirely free program. The only thing you have to do to become an APLEA Ranger is you have to believe in the code of ethics that we have, which is that we defend all life, okay? All life is valuable. 2 is 1, 1 is none, which means we're a team focused. We work with other organizations that are like-minded. We stand with Israel. Basic tenets, okay, to make sure that you're a good guy. So once you're an APLEA Ranger, it's like, okay, I'm an APLEA Ranger, now what do I do? Well, you could definitely rock some of our colors, okay? We have different, this is a back patch for a vest, so we have some of our guys on bikes that like to wear this. This is a patch, DOF, stands for Defenders of Freedom. A lot of our guys already have jobs in law enforcement too, so DOF Squad, that's what we are. Krav Maga patch, another small APLEA Rangers patch, so you could get some swag, okay? But what is the thing that separates you from the professionals? Let's say you're not a police officer. Let's say you're not in the military. Let's say you don't even train martial arts or self-defense at all. What separates them from you? There's 2 things: equipment and training, okay? Equipment and training. That's what it is. Now, if you have a job in this industry, when I started APLEA, by the way, in 2002 with my brother, both of us had very little training in this profession. I was a martial arts guy, but I had very little security experience, and I started a website called privatelawenforcement.com, which includes bail enforcement, executive protection, private investigation, security, okay, all these different things, as well as, volunteer private law enforcement programs like Neighborhood Watch. Okay, so anyways, how do you get started? Let's say you're doing it, all right? Let's say why is there a need? Because at any given time, you might be in the situation that's going to determine your life and death. Okay? So we've come a long way in 17 years. We've developed a three-blade system with 3 different types of blades that you can use and carry as everyday carry, EDC. Tomahawk, okay? You can buy something like this at Walmart for $10, okay? Or Home Depot for $20. You might have something similar to this laying around your house. A hammer, okay? If you have a hammer in your house and somebody attacks your home and you're close enough to the hammer, if you've trained in this, you'll be in good shape, all right? You'll know how to fight. A small knife. A big knife, okay? If you have a big knife in your home, what kind of knives are these similar to? Cooking knives, right? Chef knives. So there is training required, and there is equipment required. The other thing we train people in is what we call the 3-gun system, all right? Which is just 3 different types of guns. You have the shotgun, you have the handgun, and you have the long gun, okay? Now, we have different experts in these fields that can teach you to a very high level, but that's not really what we're focused on. We're focused on the basics, okay? Basic. room clearing skills. How do you learn those? If you're not a police officer, how do you learn those? If you're not in the military, how do you learn those? Even some parts of the military never learn that stuff. Like, man, that's the fun stuff. I joined the military as a cook. I don't get to do that fun stuff. You get training. Who's going to train you? Let me tell you, this is where APLEA is head and shoulders above it. All the rest of the industry, and I say that with pride, not as bragging, but since the beginning, we've been willing to teach anybody who wants to learn. Okay? Good guys. That's all we're looking for. You know? A long time ago, my brother said there's good teams and bad teams. You know? We got to figure out who's on. I figured out a lot in the last couple of years. I had a lot of people that I thought were very close friends of mine that when I needed them, they disappeared. Okay? And maybe some of it is because they didn't understand what was going on at the time, and I get that. And I don't have hard feelings. I choose to forgive. And, maybe I'll see some of them someday. You know, I've had, in my years in the martial arts, I've seen people stop training and years later come back and say, hey, I want to train again. You know, we got to be beyond being focused on black belts. We have to get beyond being focused on building businesses, martial arts businesses, self-defense businesses, personal protection businesses. All these businesses are great, and it's nothing wrong with making money to feed your family. But what we're talking about right now is a rising tide of violence, like a flood, that if we don't prepare, we're going to drown in it, okay? If we don't prepare our children, they're going to drown in it. I mean, well, my kids aren't in danger. Are you sure? Because there's a lot of active shooters happening in school districts all the time, okay? I have a friend of mine who has had several threats in the school district. Not all of them credible, but where they've had to shut down the schools. I'm hearing this. I'm connected with several different school districts, and I'm telling you that beyond the real active shooter situations, there's also been lots of threats. And so the problem is the training. A lot of times the training they're giving your average person is not the best training. For example, when we were worried about nuclear war, what did they tell people to do? Hide under their desks. Okay, that's an idiot, stupid thing. But what was it? It was free to do. It made people feel good because they had some kind of plan. Okay? That's really a horrible plan, but they had a plan, and so it made people feel a little bit better. Okay? This is more of a problem than that. Okay? Hiding under your desk is not going to work. I mean, one of the first things we started teaching people with active shooter situations is everybody lock your doors and hide in the corner. And so the problem is if the doors, and then some schools are saying don't lock the doors because we want the police to be able to get in there and find you guys. So now you got unlocked doors, and you got people coming in, shooters coming in, and here's everybody like fish in a barrel and sitting in a corner. Okay, so we've come far enough that there's other options in that. So if you start training with APLEA, okay, so what my goal is, okay, at this time, it's 2018. It's about halfway through the year. And what my plan is, okay, not for the sake of business, but for the sake of saving America, I want to place training facilities in every city in America, okay? There's 300 million people in America. There's only 1% is law enforcement and military. And I'm telling you, having been both law enforcement and military, the training of that 1% is not even up to par with where it needs to be, okay? I'm just telling you, I'm connected with a bunch of guys who have traveled and trained around the world. And so it's not about me being the top of the food chain, as some people used to say as their slogan. It's not about me being the best of the best, but it's about pulling together a team, all right? Just like the A-team, okay? Different people with different areas of specialty, all for the common goal of equipping leaders to defend freedom, okay? Our nation is in danger. Our children are in danger, and hey, if you call me up and say, hey, I have a 12-year-old son, is he too young to start learning this stuff? No, he's not. Okay, is your 5-year-old son? Maybe there's value in kids programs. I got buddies that hate kids programs, and I got other buddies that love doing kids programs. So you got to do what you feel is how you prepare people. Okay, but I can tell you, having trained I've trained 4 of my 4 children, but 3 of them are adults now, and with the training that they had that started as children, now they're better equipped than your average adult to be able to defend themselves. Do they need more training? Absolutely. Now it's time for some adult training. So, we're going to deal with things from hand to hand, disarming weapons, to using weapons as a force multiplier to defend yourself. Okay? To being an individual, because there's a time when you're all by yourself, okay? And then there's a time where you have a team component, okay? From home invasion to something happening on a bus or a train or an airplane, okay? What helped prepare people that were in Flight 93 is nothing that happened right before they got on the airplane. It was their life. So you have to train with a mindset of being a defender, being a protector, okay? There's lots of reasons to not do this, okay? So what I said, the APLEA Rangers is free. Is the training free? No, the training's not free, because the guys that are providing training have spent years and years and years of their lives to begin to become experts at this stuff. Okay, we're going, for example, we have a training coming up in September, the beginning of September in Connecticut, and one of the instructors that's going to be working with me, I've known for years, John Maddow, the infidel, and he basically, he's traveled around the world. He's been to Israel several times. He's been training. He's involved in bail enforcement, and one of the biggest things that is passion for him is he wants to make sure these people are prepared, not just walking away with certificates with a false sense of security that, oh, I can teach now, or I can whatever, I can make money with this training, but people that are actually can really defend themselves, okay? So if you haven't trained with the infidel, you definitely need to get down there in Connecticut. It's going to be a good time. I got other friends that are involved in executive protection that are experts in it. You know, there's experts all around the world. We went to Israel, and we met people, operators from many different countries that are top level trainers in their field, in their countries. So, but here's the thing. The people I'm talking to right now in this video are Americans, and I'm telling you, nobody knows how to defend your turf like you do. Okay? I'm from New York, and you might live in North Carolina or Florida or Chicago or wherever you live. Nobody knows how to defend Chicago better than you if you're a native to Chicago. Nobody knows how to defend my hometown better than me because I'm here. But with that, knowing your own area, you also have to train in a way that you could stop the threat. Are you the kind of person that runs to the sound of gunfire or runs away from it? Okay? We can help you with that. Why run to the sound of gunfire if you don't know what you're going to do when you get there? All right? So, obviously, training and equipment. Firearms. Carrying a firearm can put down a bad guy. One of the situations where the school football coach was a security guard, he was unarmed. His only option was to throw his body as a shield against the gunfire and die, while children escaped, which was a noble thing. But I'll tell you what, if he had body armor on, he might have been alive. If he had a firearm to return fire, he might have been alive. We don't send military units into foreign countries, enemy-occupied territory, without weapons. But yet in America, we're saying we don't need any weapons. Let's take all the weapons away from who? From the citizens, and just let the professionals have them. And I'm telling you, this is the one thing that I have been saying for almost 20 years. There's not enough professionals. We can't just leave it to the professionals. You want to be a professional? You want protection to become your profession? Then start training. Start getting equipped. Okay? So I could talk a lot longer about this, but let me just say, stay tuned for what's coming. Stay tuned for the trainings that are coming. PrivateLawEnforcement.com. The videos that are coming. Okay? Within APLEA, we have some different programs. We have a chaplain's program. We have a hand-to-hand, Krav Maga program. We have the Rangers. We have several different programs, okay? All of them are designed to help you be better equipped and how to equip your area, equip your neighborhood, basically. You know what I mean? Maybe you're like, I don't care about my neighborhood. I just care about my wife and kids. Good, that's a good reason to train. Maybe like, I'm not even married. I don't even care. I don't have a wife and kids to even think about. I live by myself. Okay, well, if somebody breaks into your house, what are you going to do? Okay, and if you never thought about this before, or if you're in Walmart, or if you're in, the movie theaters and somebody opens fire with a weapon, I mean, it's almost ridiculous. We used to, back 20 years ago, when I first started teaching martial arts, you had all these companies that would help you figure out how to get new students. But honestly, I think people are idiots because the truth of the matter is, do you need any more reasons to start training to protect yourself? Because people are dying all over the place. I mean, do I need to pump you up and say, look, come and train because, things are bad? Or can you just turn the news on and see how things are bad? People are scared to send their children to public school. Never have I ever thought that would happen. Okay? When I was a kid, public schools were safe. So, anyways, I'm the Juggernaut, Mark, and this has been an APLEA update. Stay tuned for more, and check out our citizen response training coming to you, come to your city very soon. Thank you.